Hey there, how's it going? This is Bonnie Violet. I am a trans, femme, genderqueer, spiritual drag artist and digital chaplain. And in case you don't know where you are, you have found yourself on the Dragon Spirituality podcast and in our special series dedicated to our time at the Dragon Spirituality Summit that took place in Chicago in October of 2022. The next few episodes will be panel discussions that we had with drag artists from across the United States, Canada, and beyond. And we just wanted to share the audio with folks who are interested in drag and spirituality. So stay tuned and listen up and bear with the sound. My hope is that we'll work on it being great, but you know how that goes sometimes. So we did our best to try to capture some sound for our first ever Dragon Spirituality Summit in the hopes of being able to upload it here on a podcast for folks who couldn't be there in person. Thank you and enjoy.
Are we ready to be live? Hello, people out in virtual land. How you doing? And you in the room too. Hello.
Y'all too.
Thank you everyone for bearing with us. We were having some sound challenges and they won. Or we lost. The challenges won.
The technical difficulties won today. Only today.
Right.
We're gonna come back and fight them again tomorrow.
Yes,
or
for sure. We will. Yeah. So and Flamy has been gracious enough to offer for us just at least have a conversation. So I know there are folks who came to listen to Flamy and meet them, and so hopefully we'll do our best to make up for that.
Well, I'm just happy to be here. We've only had 2 panels. I've already learned so much. Like, this is such a phenomenal event. I'm so happy that you have put the energy into making this happen and bringing this community in particular together, because I had no idea, 2 years ago, I had no idea that there were this many people who were pulling elements of drag and their queerness and then doing this spiritual connecting work, and it's just been amazing to watch unfold. So
yeah, I was really surprised about it myself too. I would say, I interviewed drag queens for the first time. They were queens, but drag artists. The first time was back in 2014. So it's taken a time, but I would say the last couple of years it seems like I saw you on TikTok and Miss Penny Cost and Round of Applause, and there's so many it's cool. Yeah, that was the hope, was to get people in the room together. I've met people like Layla and Coco, Chanel, and I've talked with them online, but I've never actually hugged them or touched them or anything like that.
Well,
and you and I too.
First time I ever saw you in person, and yes, it's really good to hug you.
Likewise.
Touch your flesh, Bonnie.
Right.
It was very nice.
Consensual
flesh touching was happening in the room today.
Yes, for sure. So you just had an album come out.
I did.
Yesterday, right?
Literally yesterday.
Yesterday, yes. Do you want to tell us
I was on the plane, trying to promote it on social media. Yeah, I do. Can I?
Right. Yes, please.
So, I about a year ago, we had our conversation actually probably close to 2 years ago, maybe a year and a half. I don't know.
Wow, yeah.
But this, I've always been a musician and songwriter since literally I was 9. I think was the first time I carried a song I hand wrote on, a little notepad up to my mom and said, I want to sing you a song I wrote. And the drag is newer. I'm actually, this Halloween, this month will be 3 years for me. I'm Halloween.
Ooh, there's a lot of Halloween.
I'm the Halloween queen and also the quarantine queen. I went out and dragged the first time Halloween 3 years ago, and then it wasn't really till the pandemic hit that suddenly had all this time to watch, YouTube tutorial videos and connect with people online and just start practicing drag out of our basement, live streaming out of our basement.
Right.
But at some point in that process, I realized that, drag can hold so much. It's not one art form, and I love music. I've been a songwriter my whole life. I've put out solo records. I've been in bands, and I was like, Flamy is totally made to be a musician, and I didn't even know it. I didn't even realize it. We started doing little cover concerts. When I say we, my housemates, we were all in a bubble in our house during pandemic, and they're musicians as well. So we were lucky to be together, and we did a weekly internet show called Heathen Happy Hour, where it was basically a cover concert every week where we just commiserated and like, well, it's week 58 of the pandemic. We're gonna sing you 12 new cover songs. We covered over 600 songs.
Oh, wow.
But I also started writing. I took some songs that I had written, a few years ago, and realized that these songs actually are Flamy's songs. And then I started writing more, and before I knew it, I had an album, and we did a Kickstarter, and here we are a year later, and it finally just came out yesterday. So it's called Bible Belt Baby, because that is where she grew up.
You're a Bible Belt baby.
And I grew up in Appalachian Mountains in Western North Carolina. That's where I'm from. I've lived in San Diego though since 2006, so I'm like a West Coast Bible Belt baby.
Right. Well, I think a lot of people kind of leave when they can. So I know I left Idaho and I just moved back there, but I know that the need, or the need, maybe even the need, like to go somewhere else for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I wouldn't have changed that for anything. I learned who I was by leaving, I think when you're so encapsulated in a culture that is pretty not offensive, what is the word I'm looking for? Combative toward who you are.
Intense.
Yeah. When you have to fight that on a daily basis.
Well,
to the degree that you do in some of these really conservative, like fundamentalist spaces, because we're all doing that all the time in America. Like that's just part of being a queer person in the world. But
the interesting thing, and I know you've dealt with this because you've talked to some of the people in my comments, but like we get so much, so many people have something to say about like doing drag and spirituality together, and it's always like people, saying Bible verses to us, or things like that.
We've never heard them.
Right.
We've never read that.
Exactly. You're like, get some new material.
You've changed my mind.
Yeah. Well,
Jeremiah 29:11. Sorry, that's the first verse that came to mind.
I know, right? I mean, it's been a lot, and I hate. I don't really like giving a lot of space to it, but I think it's something that a lot of folks, you're just going to deal with. I think as a drag artist who then talks about spirituality, you throw that spirituality out there, and then you have people who are of a different religion or feel like you're not doing it right. They're going to tell you what you're doing is wrong. And then I think in the queer community, there's a lot more like drag and that sort of thing, but to bring up spirituality a lot of the times is really difficult. I know I can go out passing out flyers and say, hey, there's a drag show here. It's a drag and spirituality show, and they grab it for the drag and the spirituality, and they're like, oh no, I'm good. It's like, but it's, I don't know, I think that's really interesting.
I think that's why this kind of a space is so important, because there is this overwhelming narrative that we see daily right now in this country, where it's the church against drag, right? Like we're not wanted in the church, and that is true in some churches, but that's not the truth, right? Like we all come from spiritual communities. We are clergy, like we are ministers, and to have the narrative out there that like, be afraid of drag as an art form, and because they're coming for your kids, they're going to groom your kids, they're going to come into your religious spaces, is silly. Like we grew up in your religious spaces. You raised us, right?
Yeah, like
we've been here.
You did it wrong, then I guess if we came out of it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. It's all you. It's how you raised us. Well, there you go. I know, like I've had that moment where, like I had this because I thought once because church was someplace I landed when I was a child, and it was like my safe place. I would say it was the first queer thing I did, because I didn't live with folks who, like, my parents don't go to church. Yeah. And so church was like a safe place to me. But as I've gotten older and, saw myself as, a queer person, and now a trans person and a drag queen, and like, all those sorts of things that told me that I could no longer be safe in that place that once held me, is like it's like I've had moments where like I wish I wouldn't have been exposed to church when I was younger, but you know, like I needed to get, like I wouldn't have got older to heal from the church, I guess, if I didn't have the church to land in when I was younger.
Yeah, it's so true. I definitely, for myself, try to take the posture of no regrets. Like, yes, like I wonder what would it have been like to grow up in an affirming household? What would it have been like to discover Flamy at the age of 28 instead of 38 or even 18? Wouldn't that have been great? Maybe I could have done a split back then. Like now I'm a 40-year-old queen who's actually only 3 years old, and you know, like there's so much life I've lived, but at the same time, like no regrets about that, because that is why I am who I am.
Yeah.
All of it. And actually, one of the songs on the record kind of is about this very thing. It's a song called Good Day. And I wrote it after attending a small group at the church I was attending at the time in San Diego. And it was a queer small group. So I walk in, and I'm just a very skeptical person. And I have walls, baby. I got like, I got layers of walls, you know, that people have had to shit through to get through to me over the years. And I bring that into spaces when I'm uncomfortable sometimes. So I walked into this queer small group, and I was just like on edge and nervous. And I was like, I don't know what this is all about. Like, who are all these queer Christians? Like, are they gonna try and convert me to some new Jesus? Like, I already had enough of the old Jesus. Like, it's too much, y'all. So I brought all of that like energy into the room. And the first question that our facilitator asked was, let's talk about how you have personally reconciled your faith and your sexuality. And I was like, okay. And I raised my hand. I was like, I'll be the first one. Oh, that's easy. I don't have to. I'm not a Christian. Like, I left my faith. I apostatized. I'm a heathen now. There's nothing to reconcile. It's all good. And then I sat there in my little, you know, smirk as we went around the room, and every person answered the question. They all had some like heart-melting thing to say about the reason that I stick around in this space, the reason I am still at the church that raised me, or that I'm like looking for a new church, or that I care about the spiritual life, my spiritual life and the spiritual life of my community, is because I know that if I were to vacate the space, if I were to just like peace out, I'm going to leave a void, and that void is going to be filled most likely by someone in my church who's going to make it harder for the next generation of queer kids coming up in my church, right? And I was about this big after we got around that circle, and I just had listened to everybody like talk about their fight and their struggle, and why they stay. And I mean, I've never been the same since that small group, but I ended up going home and writing the song. It's the last song on the record, actually. And you know, the chorus, a lyric in the chorus is just, I can only do it if I sing it. A good day to come back home. You sent me away, but I was never alone. You were afraid that there was not enough, but you can't run out of love. And we've been singing that song now in my church for, I wrote that like 6 or 7 years ago. Like I said, some of these songs far predate Flamy. And we've been singing that in our church, and our church has a really big queer population in San Diego. And it's just, every time we do it, it's just like this moment of, we do belong, and we are here. And the narrative that it's us versus them, that, you know, like, queer people, there's no place for queer people in mainstream religion. Like, it's so false, and we're gonna prove it by just living and being here and doing the thing.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that's like, I think it's important for us as queer people, as drag artists, like, to say that it's spiritual.
Yeah.
Like, that our existence takes some sort of spirit, like some badass spirit, just to exist.
Yes.
I mean, that's spiritual shit. You know, like life, you know, creation, that which gives life, you know, it's like, what's more spiritual than that?
What is more spiritual than
Yeah.
creation? And that is so much of what dragging is.
It is, and that was the thing that drew me. It's like, you know, and the things that drag artists do for the community, like, are the things that I want my preachers or pastors or, you know, leaders in my church or my community settings to do. You know, they're out there, you know, educating folks, trying to, even if it's just about like trying to make people feel good for even just a few minutes, you know. But you know, there's so many drag artists have raised money to take care of people who were, you know, challenged with HIV and AIDS back in the 70s or 80s and 90s, and even now, you know, now you see a lot of drag artists that are, you know, doing things for trans communities and other like BIPOC communities, and so you see how like drag stays relevant, right? Like it's like they're always, I think, on the forefront of like, you know, what I guess where the rest of the world should be. Not the world should be, but maybe we're leading them there, you know?
I think should's an okay word in that situation.
Right, right. What surprised you most about making this album?
That's a great question. I think I would have to like just lean into the community aspect of it, because from the beginning it's been a project that's, like I said, we did a Kickstarter. It blew so much further past than I thought it would. Like I had done Kickstarters in the past, and you know, so I had an expectation, and it just blew past my expectation. People were like, it's kind of like when the TikTok video for Flamy, the first one that went viral before I was even ready to like for the world to really see my drag. You know, I was still doing it just in my bedroom, like, oh, it's Thursday night, my husband's at work, I'm gonna paint my face and have some fun. And it's like there's this hunger and this desire for these conversations and for music that represents, because where is that music? Where is our drag spiritual music? And you know, there's a little bit out there, but I wanted to release an album under the Christian category, like that's where you're gonna find my record, by the way. It's in the contemporary Christian category on iTunes, and I wanted us to, like those people in that small group. I've just been inspired ever since then. I'm like, we belong in these spaces, and there's the gatekeeping around it all is just so oppressive, and that's what we have to fight. So
it's so powerful to like just claim that space,
yeah,
which is what you're doing. You know, like did you kind of go back and forth about whether or not you want to be listed as a Christian?
Oh my gosh, funny. That's my life. Like that's me going back and forth for the past decade. Like, what is my spirituality? I don't know. What do I call it? Because I mean, obviously, I landed pretty heavily into we're just gonna lean into the Christianity, the Christian upbringing. I'm gonna call it Bible Belt Baby. I'm gonna release it as a Christian record. I grew up extremely fundamentalist, evangelical. So the people who brought you President Trump, you're welcome, in North Carolina, and you know, so I just wrestle with that all the time.
I think we're okay on time.
Okay. With that question, I think one of the things that Flamy has really helped me do is like, Flamy she can hold a lot. Like, she can do so much more than I feel like I sometimes am capable of doing as Matthew. And I'm like, I'm gonna outsource my Christianity to my drag character. Flamy's gonna be very Christian. She'll be out there like evangelizing and spreading the good news of inclusion. And I say that a little tongue-in-cheek, obviously, because Flamy isn't a switch I turn on. Like, this is very much part of my human experience. Like, I have learned so much since I started doing drag, and but it's just like a little mental trick that I'm able to be like, I can release a Christian album as Flamy. That will be okay.
Yes. So we're gonna probably go like maybe 5 more minutes or so. So if folks have any questions in the audience or on the live stream, that would be great. If you have them,
Oh, we are
down. Yes, we are up there. Hi.
I slept on my neck wrong last night, so I can't turn my neck very far.
Right. It was like, it's those days when like I was having a bad day, and so that's why I'm on camera. It's like bad day.
That's why your eyes got really wide when I asked you.
I
Why don't we
like,
just have a conversation?
Just have a conversation with me. I'm like, I'm not supposed to get on camera today.
You look stuck.
It's the boots.
It's the boots.
It's the boots.
It's you. It's your spirit.
Yes. Did we have any questions? No questions. How about in the audience? Yes.
We've answered all the questions.
Rhonda
has one.
Help me, Ron. Help me, Ron.
Is this from? Oh, great. I've had the joy of listening to the whole soundtrack on Spotify already. I would want to know, do you have a favorite track of all of them? I'm sure they all have dear points in your hearts, but is there one that sticks out to you that has the most memories tied to it, or something that you would, if people could listen to one Flamy song, which one would you choose?
Ooh, that is such a great question. Thank you. Also a hard one to answer because you're right. They're all my babies. I love them all. But I do have, I think, an answer pretty much ready. And that would be the song Holy Ground. So that's one of the songs that I wrote, I think 6 years ago. So before I had even a notion of potentially doing drag one day. And I never knew what it meant. And obviously this is a story I was going to tell with the song too, so you would get to hear it, but you can just go listen to it after this. But so I didn't even know what it meant. It's kind of a, holy ground. There's a little bit of like Moses and the burning bush situation happening that inspired some of the lyrics. But it was like a pretty melody and like a vibe. I was like, what is this song? I don't even know. And then fast forward to 2022 and me experimenting with altering organics, psilocybins for the first time, and I came back to that song and I was like, oh, like this song is very much about this particular journey, one of being in that moment in the wilderness. With not much purpose, not much vision, and having, Moses had to have been on something. Like, we just all agree, like he saw a burning bush that wasn't burning, and then God tells him, come on, that's a trip if I ever heard one. So I very much value inner child work and going back to the little Matthew who was walking around in his mom's heels before it was banned and shamed out of me, and that song for me is kind of that. It's that experience. It's me going back to my young self and being like, this is your holy ground. So you're okay here, you're safe here, and I know you were told for so long that this was a shameful space and a thing that you should never engage in. And I'm gonna walk you into it. We're gonna go together with the assistance of mushrooms. So.
Okay, great. Yeah, I got a sense that a lot of it was. Do you have a follow-up? Oh no. Oh, there's a question up there. Green Sunrise says, if you could do a duet with Eden Grant, what song would you do? She's like, doing one next week.
I'm not.
Does she know who you are?
I feel like Amy has to know about me at this point. I've just come across too many people who are in her orbit who are like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna tell Amy, or I'm gonna tell her manager or whatever. So I think she knows I exist. I've not heard from Team Amy.
Say hello, she's probably watching.
It's an absolute dream to get to interact with her one day. Singing a duet would be, I don't know, I don't dare to dream for that, but also at the same time, yes.
Manifest it,
right? It would be something off of Behind the Eyes, the 1997 record, which is my all-time favorite record of hers. It would probably be, I love her sad shit, so it'd be like The Feeling I Had, or Cry a River. Not the Justin Timberlake, obviously.
Not right,
but the original predates JT's. But yeah, any song. Thy Word, I don't care. El Shaddai, let's do that one.
I do like that song.
One translation of El Shaddai actually can be many-breasted nurturer.
Many-breasted, so like beyond two?
I
No.
think it could be 2+, like two,
Right.
It could include two. I think many could be a lot of things, so.
Well,
I mean,
well.
that's out of scripture, y'all. Right? So, and Amy Grant was singing that
All
a long
right.
time ago.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for
Thank you,
doing
Bonnie.
this. And for folks who are live stream or here today, please do join us this evening. As you heard Christopher say so well, that we do have a spiritual drag show this evening. The doors open at 6 o'clock, in which we're offering tarot reading and connection with other spiritual care providers. And then at 7 o'clock, we'll start the show. We also have another show on Saturday night as well, in which Flamy will be performing.
And it might be an Amy Grant song.
May or may not. You'll have to come to find out, right? Yes, and then if we can, I might see if we can try to make something work for Sunday. We have like a little bit of time that maybe we could try to make up for you not getting to sing today. Maybe on
Songs
Sunday.
on Sunday.
Yeah, but I'm sure Rachel is like, girl. We'll see.
Don't give it up for Rachel. Rachel is handling this shit.
Yes. Thank you all so much. And this is the end of today's program. And now, again, this evening, it's not going to take place here. It's going to be down at the Broadway United Methodist Church for those who are here in real life, which is actually just a couple blocks down the road from where we're at right now. There will be ASL tonight as well at the show. And a big shout out to our ASL. We do have, we had hoped to be able to access ASL through, for the whole conference, and we were only able to make it work through Keynotes, the panel that we had today, the Kings, Queens, and Things, as well as then the one show tonight. So unfortunately, there's just the one show with ASL, but that is this evening. I think that was it. So yes, thank you. Give it up for Flamy.
I'm so happy you're here.
So glad you're here. All right. Bye. Is that how you say it? Bye.
Peace.
Bye.
Hi there, this is Bonnie Violet again. Thanks so much. We really hope you enjoyed our panel discussion or the plenary or whatever part of the Dragon Spirituality Summit you just listened to. We wanted to give a big shout out to a queer chaplain for hosting this event along with the Urban Village Church in Chicago. You can check out the links in the description to connect with each of those orgs and learn more about their work. Also, to continue to support the work of the Dragon Spirituality Podcast, feel free to also check out our Patreon, where you could contribute on a monthly basis to help support the work of this podcast, along with all the productions from a queer chaplain. Thanks so much, and like I said, check out those links and show us some love, and let us know what you think. Like, what did you enjoy? What did you enjoy? Yeah. What would you like to hear more of? Yeah, let us know. We'd love to hear from you and work in designing next year's Dragon Spirituality Summit 2023 to take place in San Francisco, California. Take care and be well. Bye-bye.